Donnie and Dolly, the team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
All right, it is Tuesday. All of our guests today, including Craig Button, standing by, brought to you by the Bayside Oceanfront Resort, located Oceanside in beautiful Parksville. Oh, pardon me, it's the Waddling Dog. Oh, we're all messed up today.
Just a weird day.
I'm blaming Ryan, all right? I'm blaming Ryan and Kyle Clifford. All of our guests today brought to you by the Waddling Dog Pub. Put the graphic up again, Derek. There you go. Thank you. One of Victoria's favorite local watering holes, located 10 minutes from the ferry terminal. The Waddling Dog Pub is the place to be to catch all NFL playoff action. With spring finally here, the Dog is excited to open their heated, dog-friendly patio. You've been there, Rick.
Oh,
don't miss their fully stocked liquor store and 30-room boutique hotel attached. I didn't know there was a hotel there. There are countless reasons to come sit and stay at the Waddling Dog. My fault. Craig Button joins us now, TSN Scouting Director. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Listen, every pub should have a hotel attached to it.
Yes.
That way you just get to just move from one room to another room.
Yes, yeah. It would have been a good idea back in my day, that's for sure. Hey, Leafs over the Lightning, 5-0. Craig, how significant was it for the Leafs to not only kill off Kyle Clifford's 5-minute penalty, but to look so dominant doing so? And while they were doing that, I had Nazem Kadri in mind.
Well, you think about that's funny, but you think about even the first penalty of the game that was taken by TJ Brody. And the Tampa Bay Lightning never even had an opportunity. In fact, the best opportunities came from the Leafs on that power play. And then they get the 5-minute power play, and they were terrible. And I think it became, as the game stretched on, the early part of that game was indicative of the Toronto Maple Leafs. They were quicker, faster, hungrier, more competitive, more determined. That Tampa Bay Lightning team looked like a team that had no chance. And I know what John Cooper's comments after the game when he said, Toronto didn't even have to be at their best to beat them. Well, I'll tell you what, if the Tampa Bay Lightning are serious about being in this series, they got to raise their level of play about 3 notches. Not only just from a speed and quickness point of view, but from an intensity point of view. I mean, the Toronto Maple Leafs, when you look at what they did on that penalty kill, certainly a team that they're playing against that has an exceptionally talented group of players that throw it on the power, they annihilated the Tampa Bay Lightning. So I would just say if I was John Cooper, I would just go in and I said, well, if you think this is going to get you anywhere near a win, let alone competing for another Stanley Cup, you guys are just kidding yourselves. See ya Wednesday.
Do you understand why the Leafs dressed Kyle Clifford instead of Jason Spezza?
I never understand why a team would dress Kyle Clifford, to be honest with you. So you're asking me to try to explain. He takes a 5-minute major right off the bat. Like he should be suspended, in my view, right? That's what you want in your lineup? I don't want it in my lineup.
Hey, Craig, what would you say, if anything, to Mike Smith after a mistake like the one he made last night in the third period up in Edmonton?
Wasn't the only mistake he made in that game. I mean, throughout the game, he was sloppy. He was scrambling around the net and making mistakes in and around the net, and pucks were laying around there. I'll tell you what, he doesn't inspire much confidence from me. If I'm an opponent, I'm the LA Kings, all I'm looking at is get to this guy. Make him vulnerable, get to pucks around the net, the rebounds, make him handle the puck, make him make those decisions. Listen, he hasn't been good. This is 5 straight playoff games. 4 last year versus Winnipeg, and now this hasn't been very good at all. I said it on Edmonton radio. I would start Koskinen in a game 2.
Craig, I'm going to ask you about the Kings blue line, and don't get mad at me. I had to Google some of these guys. It's almost like a no-name blue line, and I'm looking at this going, who's Anderson, Dursey, Spence, Roy, Matta, Adler, the former Canuck, 22 minutes last night, and he was on the ice in the dying seconds. So, Craig, they're doing it without Drew Doughty. What do you see when you look at that Kings blue line?
Well, obviously, you got a very young group there that's inexperienced. But let me just give you a little bit of background. Rick, I'll never get mad at you. Okay, so you don't have to worry about that. I mean, you know what? But one of the things that we try to learn when we don't know players, we try to learn a little bit more about them. Mikey Anderson was a member of the U.S. national junior team, a high-end competitor. Won a national championship at Minnesota Duluth. You got Sean Dursey, who came over in the Jack Campbell trade. I put my ballot in for the Rookie of the Year, the all-rookie team. Sean Dursey is the defenseman along with Moritz Seider. Really good. Took him a little bit longer in junior hockey. Jordan Spence was a really smart player. He was an excellent player in the American Hockey League. He has earned his way up there at this point in time. Matt Roy has been around for a little bit of time, so he fits in there. And we know the other two guys. I think it's a credit to Trent Yanni and Todd McClellan to take these young players and put them into a lineup and ask them to play to the best of their abilities. Yes, you got Edler, you got Mata on the blue line, but the other players, Sean Dursey's a big part of their power play. Mikey Anderson's a big part of their competitive effort. He's heavy, he's weighty. So, they might not be household names. In fact, they probably aren't household names outside of their own households. But at the same time, coaching is about, saying, here's what we need you to do. Now just play within, the parameters of your game. And I think they've done that exceptionally well. And I think Trent Yanni deserves a lot of credit for that because as you point out, no Drew Doughty leaves a big hole in your line.
I want to talk junior hockey with you because if I asked you 2 weeks ago if Everett was going to beat the Vancouver Giants, Craig, you probably would have laughed at me. And here they are. The number 8 seed beats the top seed. Are you surprised?
Absolutely, I'm surprised. And I don't think anybody would be surprised. But I know talking to Michael Dick earlier in the season, he felt that before he left to go to the World Junior camp, that the team was moving in a really nice direction. And then, they stumbled when he was away. He came back. They stumbled a little bit more. But the biggest thing with an experienced coach, and Mike is that, and we know what he did a few seasons ago, taking Vancouver right to the Western Hockey League final before ultimately losing in overtime to Prince Albert, is that he understands two things. He understands where young players are at in their development, and he's a patient guy. And so what he's going to push it along. He's going to guide it along. And now you get into a playoff series versus Everett, and you try to keep things stable from game to game. What did we do well? What do we got to fix? What did we do well? Let's stay with that. What do we got to fix? I think Mike's experience really helped him in that regard. But I really believe that for Mike and the Vancouver Giants, it was a building process over time. And he saw success. He saw the stumble. And I think one of the biggest things, especially in junior hockey, is when players can, get off kilter, you got to remind them a lot at times about what they do well and that they've done it well. Because, the confidence level can waver. But I think Mike did a terrific job in beating a very, very good Everett team. And Dennis Williams is a good coach in Everett. So it wasn't like it was coaching inexperience on the other side, but a real good effort. And when you think about Zach Ostapchuk, I was talking to the Ottawa Senators guys over at the U18 in Germany, and I said, that type of centerman, you look at their center, they got Stutzla and Norris up the middle, they got Ridley Gray coming. Zach Ostapchuk has really improved, and he's one of those players that leans in, makes life exceptionally difficult for an opponent. I think he did that perfectly for Vancouver en route to the series win over Everett.
You talked about coaches there, Craig. Back to the Oilers and Kings, and when you bring up the Jack Adams Award, Sutter's name gets thrown out there. Even some people talking at one point about Bruce Boudreau. Do we talk enough about the job that Todd McClellan has done with the LA Kings?
Probably not, because again, we just talked, Rick just talked about the young defense there, right? They've had some injuries. I'm watching the game last night. I got to tell you, I was really impressed with Quentin Byfield. I think Quentin, I've watched him for a long time. I think he's a player that kind of, takes time to, really get comfortable. and maybe the points weren't there, but to me, he's looking ever more confident in his game. And it's not easy for an NHL coach to take a young player, or any young player for that matter, in those formative stages of their career, to keep trying to build that confidence, knowing they're not quite there, and the player to go out there and show what he's capable of. I've seen a real progression, not only in Quinton Byfield's game. We talked about Sean Dursey coming in. We talked about some of the Jordan Spence. I think that Todd has done a phenomenal job with this LA Kings team that we looked at as a young team. And keep in mind, too, Rob Blake, who I thought might have made some moves at the trade deadline, really didn't. And so it was. I think that has to come from the trust of Todd McClellan in his group of players to saying, hey, I think we can get it done with this group. And they did, and here they are, 1-0 up on the Edmonton Oilers.
Yep.
Craig, good to see you back home. Thanks for this. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, thanks, you guys. Have a great day.